Hello, my name is Dan Perera, your host for the Rise Youth Ministry podcast. Here we'll be addressing the different struggles youth face when it comes to living out the Christian faith. We hope to really inspire you, giving you the tools you need to help you discover the person God created you to be.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us today on today's episode. My name is Rissa. I'm going to be your host today. I'm joined with Lisa and Josey, who are both actually part of our youth ministry here at St. Benedict Parish. Lisa is one of our team leaders with our youth group, and Josey does come to our youth nights and hangs out with us and spends time with us at the Rise. So it's a joy to have you both. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. We have a few topics to talk about today. Obviously, that's why we're here, I think. And so before we go into the topics, actually, why don't you both just give a little introduction? Like, where are you guys from? You know, like what maybe made you wanted to be part of the Rise? Maybe what's your faith background? Anything like that? Lisa, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can go first. Where do I start? Faith background. So I grew up going to church, but very reluctantly. My mom made me go, and as soon as I was confirmed, I was out of there. No interest in it whatsoever. So I recently come back. About 3 years ago, I started my journey, and I feel a bit like a kid myself. So I was really pumped when I heard about the Rise, and I wanted to be a part of it. So
I love that.
So I decided to sign up and hang out with these lovely folks every week, and that's my story. Josey?
I also come from a very faithful background. My family, we actually didn't start off at this church. We went to the Lady of Lebanon, and we still go there, but my sister actually introduced me to the youth ministry, and I've been coming ever since.
Nice.
And I have no regrets. It's so fun. Yeah.
So good. Oh, well, I'm glad you're with us. It's always a blast. Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to kind of go off today. It's kind of an extension off the other episode, episode 2, actually with Dan and Emily when they talked about the fears that hold us back. So today we're going to talk a bit more about insecurities, maybe some fears that kind of are specific more to women, and how we're called to overcome these in our Christian faith, really, because God doesn't want us to live in fear. God wants us to be free, and just talking about those struggles, because I know I've had them, so I'm sure you guys can relate. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that for our listeners. I think that'd be, good. So, I mean, you guys touched a little bit about how you guys came to the faith or were into the faith. What was more like your childhood like, or maybe your teen years growing up in the faith? I know, Lisa, that may not pertain as much to you, but I don't know, Josey, if you have anything about that. Like, was it tough? Were there any struggles with that, do you find?
Yeah, actually.
School?
Oh, definitely with school. Being like this super faithful person, everyone at school, like, they were starting to get into drugs, partying like every weekend, like starting to swear and all that. And it was like, at first I was like, no. And then that's when I started getting made fun of, and like not like totally, it was more like of a chill insult. Like, it was more teasing, but like it still hurt knowing that like I was known as the innocent one, the one that wouldn't try anything. And then like I was like doing very good till grade 10 high school is when like that's when I saw that everyone was like they weren't like peer pressuring me like to my face, but my surroundings was just it was so influential, and that was not pronounced right, but you know what I meant. And so like, thank God I've never like dabbled in drugs or vaping, but like I've noticed that I started swearing, and it's really hard because like I know it's bad and I try to back off, but like when I'm so angry, it's like I have to say it. It's so difficult, and it's like I know I shouldn't be worried, but like deep down I'm like still very worried about what others say about me.
That's actually, that even like opens up kind of our topics anyways. Like, that fear of what people may think. And also I think as you're saying this, it's making me think like just the kind of air, like they may not say it to your face, but you almost feel uncomfortable or you feel like you might be judged, and that takes a toll on you, like whether or not, even if they don't say anything to your face.
The subtlety of it all, like
Yeah.
I can totally relate to that. Like people are just subtle, right? Like you just don't kind of get invited to things as much, or maybe you're just excluded from certain things. It's like it's a subtle thing. At least it was for me when I was younger. It was
Yeah.
very subtle.
Yeah, and I think even outside of Christian faith, I think these are all things we can still relate to, even if they're not Christian related topics. Like I think growing up in high school, I think we all grow up like having those fears of people judging us, or people like us not fitting in, right? I think maybe we can talk about fitting in, because that fits in to the topic. But yeah, I mean, like I know I struggled with it. Maybe Lisa, I don't know if you have thoughts about fitting in.
Yeah. Oh man, guys. Like I remember, I was really young, and I always tried to do well in school. I tried to do like the right thing. And I remember this one time, I don't know what grade I was in, but my report card came back, and it was really good, and I was really proud of it. And one of the boys like grabbed it or something and looked at it, and because it was like a good report card, they actually made fun of me for that, which what is that? And they called me all kinds of names, like goody two shoes and little innocent and little teacher's pet, and they called me all kinds of names. And I remember, and I was young, right? Like, gosh, I was probably 12, and I remember vowing, I was like, I am going to get rid of that nickname no matter what. Like, I am going to pretend to be someone else so that I don't get made fun of like that, because that really hurt. And I don't know why, because it's silly when I look back, but it really hurt me. It stung. And the boy got other boys to make fun, and then sure enough there's a whole bunch of people. And it was really hard. And so like I vowed then, I was like, okay, like I don't want to be made fun of like that anymore, so I'm going to change who I am. I'm going to act differently. I'm going to prove to them that I'm not this like little innocent goody two shoes that they think that I am. And
yeah, and it's crazy. I think as you're talking about that, it's crazy how sometimes we'll try to change ourselves just so people don't see us as what they see us as. Like it shouldn't matter, as opposed to us taking like, and I think this is kind of like literally calling God's truth like amidst a lie, right? Like literally the lie is you're a goody two shoe, you're too smart, you're this, you're that, whatever it is that they tell you, and you'll start to believe it, right? And that lie comes straight from the devil. That's not God's truth, right? And so it's crazy how we'll even, and maybe I'm going too deep here, but like we'll literally try to change ourselves just to fit the social norms, or like that's what fitting in is like, right? We'll try to change ourselves so that it can fit whatever this person is saying about us, or like what society says about us. When like instead, if we just stand in God's truth and say, you know what, I am smart. Like I did do good in my grades. Like where's the fear in that, right? But I think it's harder, I think, growing up with that, because as you're growing up, you're kind of trying to figure out what is truth. Who am I, But I don't know if you can relate to that kind of fitting in part 2, Josey, or if there's anything on that kind of pops up in your mind about any experiences in school.
Yeah, I mean, fitting in was like a really hard thing for me, because I was always so loud, like the loud Christian girl, and like I like kind of like kept my Christianity like a little bit more like towards myself at some points, definitely, because like I was always teased, like, again, the innocent one. I didn't like being known as the innocent one, even though that's pretty good, honestly. Like, I don't want to be known as like the bad one either. It was, it's difficult. It's really difficult. And it's still difficult for me, but like, I think I'm starting to accept it a little bit more, but baby steps,
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's not an overnight. I think this is one of the things when we have insecurities and fears and all these things that kind of hold us back. It's not instantaneous. It can take some time to kind of get a little bit closer to God's truth and get to know what He wants for us, for sure. We kind of have some also like maybe discussions about the fear of rejection, right? Because I think that kind of ties in. And yeah, the fear of being rejected. Have you guys had any stories or like anything that you feel that this is something you've been directly maybe rejected or had fear of being rejected because of those insecurities you had, or like trying to fit in? Is that something you guys can relate to?
Definitely. I mean, yeah, like I remember when I first went to high school, I was probably one of like, I don't know, maybe 5 people from my junior high merging into a high school with 2 other junior highs that had like, I don't know, 300 plus people in each of them. And then there was only like the 5 of us from mine. So I'm like, okay, I need to like make a new group of friends kind of thing, like, you know, branch out. And at that point, like friend groups had already been formed and I was trying to fit in. And girls are tough, man. Oh my
gosh, tell me about it. Why are we so brutal? Like, honestly, like, we're so mean to each other. It doesn't make any sense.
That's exactly right. Like I met these couple of girls and I like went to one of their houses one night, but like they just didn't see me. Like they just didn't see me, and I wanted to be seen, you know, and I just didn't feel seen. And like, then I felt like I started doing things completely out of character just to be seen.
Yeah.
You know, because I felt like I was going to be, rejected by these girls and by this group, and that I wasn't going to fit into this high school. And I mean, it was really tough. Like eventually I left that school. I went to a different high school, you know, it was really hard.
Yeah. It makes me think of when I had moved to New Brunswick from Quebec, and obviously I was the odd one out, right? And I think it was kind of normal in Quebec for our age group because I was I think 13 or 12. And so for us, the school system is even different. When you go into grade 7, I think it's grade 7, you go into that, like, our school is like secondary school. You have like primary and then secondary. We don't have like 3 stages. We only have 2 stages. And so in the secondary, I guess, school, like girls were like already wearing makeup and like doing these things that were, and so I went to move to New Brunswick, no one was wearing makeup. Felt totally odd. People were kind of making fun of me or like poking at me because I was different, and like everyone was kind of like, oh. And I remember, I think it was like on my first day, I like, wherever I sat in the classroom, there was this one girl and she's like, so this is so and so, those are the losers, you don't hang out with them. So these are the, and then she was kind of like, and I was, and at that pressure of like who do I hang out with? And it's funny, the people she actually pointed out as like losers were like ended up being my friends group. And so like part of me is almost like, oh, I was am I a loser? But like that fear, right? Like, and I think I was rejected plenty of times by like so many people starting at a new school and started to be made fun of because my English wasn't very good, or like just being different, you know. And there was, I think, a lot of rejection there, and obviously all throughout high school. For some reason, I don't know what it is with girls, they just love to tear each other apart, but that was a big one. This is a big one for me in terms of wanting to fit in, for sure. Lisa, is there anything that is kind of jumping out at you or that you're thinking of outside of just anything related to being a teen or growing up and having these fear insecurities? It doesn't have to be just what we've talked about so far, because I feel like we've talked quite a bit about fitting in and these things, but are there any other, insecurities or fears that you felt that you really struggled with, either growing up or even in the past few years, that you'd like to share?
Gosh, so many. Yeah, I mean, I always had a lot of fear inside me. Like I always did. Just fear of so many things. Fear of failure, like trying anything new. Fear
Big
of,
one.
I like people a lot, so I don't know where this came from, but socializing even. Yeah, so a bit of social anxiety, so a lot of that, and that sort of followed me, after high school and whatnot, and yeah, like, you know, drinking made that easier, right? Drinking made socializing easier. So I'm sure there's high school kids that are doing it now and finding it easier to socialize with each other, and it allows you like almost like it's like this excuse for if you say something inappropriate or you don't say the right thing or whatever, that can be your excuse, you know, like it was like a way to kind of try to figure out, I think, who I am without this like immense fear. A lot of striving, to like figure out who I was, right? And so that I used that to try to figure it out, like, you know, like just trying to lower inhibitions and trying to have the courage to talk to people that normally I wouldn't talk to, all kinds of stuff, you know?
I think I'm hearing you talk about everything, and I'm thinking of one big thing is like the fear of not being liked or the fear of not being loved.
Right.
And the extent of how far we'd go to feel like known or like seen, because you had said earlier seen, to feel seen, or loved, or like all of these things. What about you, Josey? Can you think of anything, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
I know it's a tough.
Yeah.
It's a big topic, the fear of being loved. But I think that's especially for women's heart. Like I think we want to be seen. We want to be beautiful. We want to be loved for who we are. And I think we can really struggle if we're not, right?
Yeah. No. Growing up, I've always tried to be like the super nice, or like trying to like get everyone to like me. If I found out someone didn't like me, I would be like, I don't care. But then I would like try to talk to them and be like, why don't you like me? Like all that. And like, not being liked is like, it's a scary thing for women, I feel, because all over media, it's like women have to be loved. Women have to be beautiful. Women have to like try their hardest.
Yeah. It's true. And even I think when you're saying like trying our hardest, I feel like there's almost this social pressure now that women can't like, I'm going into a deeper topic, so just warning. But like we're thinking about feminism and the amount that women can do, and yes, we should be seen as equal. But I think it brings up a whole other area of like pressure, I think, for us to be able to like be independent, be able to do this, be able to do that. And not to say that I don't think we should be, but it's almost like it creates additional pressures that we already feel are already there. Like we already struggle so much with all the media of like wanting to be beautiful, like, and thinking that we should look just as beautiful as like models and people we see on TV. And then on top of that, it's like there's all these like check boxes we need to check as women, and I feel I've struggled with that, like, and especially growing up, like how much tons of makeup that I put on, like, you know, in high school, or like things I did just to like make myself appear beautiful, or like, you know, all these things. I think that's a big one for women.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Like, you know, there's always that like the idea of just, you know, I mean, I always wanted to, you know, get married. Like, I wanted to find a relationship, right? But I also, like, I knew that I wanted to be independent, and I wanted to do this and do that. And it's, like, trying to figure out, like, all the things that, as a woman, like, I need to figure out how to provide for myself, but I also need to be open to, you know, a relationship, and I need to be able to do this and do that. And it's, like, so much pressure. I need to, like, look a certain way, and I need to, if
that
it
one
can't be
kills
too
me.
much, like, that's,
that kills me. No, keep going with with your point, but that just kills me. I can maybe comment after you.
Yeah, like, just the idea of, like, I don't know, just as an example, like, you know, somebody says something to you, and if you actually get upset about it, and all of a sudden you're looked at as somebody that just freaks out, like, for no reason. So you're just like, you know, like, someone says something that you don't like, and it's like just trying to, like, you know, we're not supposed to get angry, and we're not supposed to, like, make a big scene, you know what I mean? We're supposed to be calm and quiet and meek, and it's just like, and then if you aren't like that, then all of a sudden you're labeled as crazy or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's always labels. It's like you can't. It's crazy how, and this is again where we almost can look at God and realize to try to look for the truth of God, because again, it's like I feel like it'll never stop. Like there's always going to be labels over like what it is we should and shouldn't do, and that can almost confuse us and instill even more fear and insecurities. But I think you're right. What was it you were saying? Too much or not enough?
Not enough, yeah.
I was feeling that. I feel that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, personally, I compare like with like looks from others. I'm gonna like major warning. The first time I struggled with my looks was probably in elementary because I was comparing myself to models, and like I used to. This is so bad. Warning. I used to like not for long. I realized how bad it was, but I used to throw up my food in the school stalls. In elementary, grade 4.
That's crazy. And
Yeah.
the amount of stories I've heard from women, you're not the only one I've heard struggled with this. Like so many women that I've come close to, and that they admitted that that was something they struggled with. So.
Yeah, like I always thought like showing less would be better, and now I'm like, ugh, no, it's not. And like throwing up my food, like that's so that like if you're strongly with it, it's not like a dumb thing, but like also it's hard to realize. It's very hard to realize that it's like it's not worth it in the end. It's not worth it to compare yourself to others, and
Yeah. And that's truth, right? I think I've done that all my life. And I think I still do it today, right? But I remember similarly, I mean, I had a sister who is like extremely fashionable, or have a sister. But at the time she was really into her fashion and like things that she would wear, and like she's beautiful. She really is. And not just her, but I think there was just like these comparisons in my life that made me like, even from a young age, like I would tell myself I'm not beautiful. That was like my motto, which is like terrible. But like, yeah, I would have been probably as young as you. Like this was before I entered like middle school. I remember being like not even in 7th grade or 6th grade and telling myself I was ugly, and I carried on this thought pattern. And it took me a really long time to just kind of learn. I think it wasn't even until like my last year of high school, like even getting out of high school, that I was like, oh, okay, like I finally found like, like that I don't need to do all these things, and how much I was comparing myself, and it's just not. It's not what God wants for us, like God, and I've even struggled like understanding beauty from an like an inside perspective as opposed to an outside perspective. Like it's not just about looks also, like it's about your heart, it's about who God made you to be, which is not just your looks,
yeah.
It's funny though, I don't know if you guys found this, but I remember being told that it's not just about your looks, like it's about something inside. But man, oh man, the pressure, the magazines, everything that you look at, like media, like man, I feel like for some reason those spoke louder to me than the words coming from like my parents or whatever saying that that it's more. It's everywhere, and there's just so much pressure. And body image is just, oh my gosh, that's a whole other topic, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's a whole other topic.
It's huge, and there's so much pressure, like you were saying, Josey. And look at what that does to such a young girl.
Yeah.
To think that that's something that you need to do when you were made perfectly in the image of God, the beautiful woman that you are, and for you to think that you're anything other than that is heartbreaking. Like it really is. It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, even with like it's all that matters is the inside, that puts so much pressure on like people who do feel like they are not attractive. Like I remember hearing that for the first time and being like, okay, I don't have to worry about my looks, but now my personality has to be flawless. I have to laugh at everyone's jokes. I have to be nice, but also be like a funny, like mean person. Like I have to be hilarious. I can't be boring,
Oh wow, yeah, and that creates a whole other line of fears. But I agree. I think it's I'm still learning the definition of beauty. Like even if I don't even know, probably God defined it even more simpler than what I'm imagining it in my head. But I think it is supposed to be simple, and I think we tend to. It's so easy to kind of overcomplicate it, Lisa, you're talking about magazines, and I agree. Like, you know, back more, and we have a slight age difference, but it's similar. But it's similar. Like maybe for us, it was magazines were still around a lot, but then the TV became more and more popular, which I'm sure would have been true for you too. And similarly, that's where we got our idea of what we should be looking like and not looking like. But I'm thinking even more of the struggles now, because now everything is so accessible. It's just on your phone, all your social media, all the ads, all the videos you watch. And I'm sorry, but like, think about movies, right? Like movies and TV now, like I think that women are just, it's overly done. Like I remember watching a show at some point, and it was random, but I pointed out, I was like, whoa, this is like the you know, I was binge watching, right? So it's like 5 episodes in, and I was like, these past 5 episodes, this one woman is just wearing dresses every day. She's going into a show, and I was like, how is that like, how is that realistic? I was like, I mean, maybe there's some women, but like, just like it's like, where's the true essence? Where's like, you know, I don't think that I would be able to have that many dresses to like, and they were all different. She was all like dressed always to the nines, and I was like, how is this? Yeah. How is this possible?
Hair
like,
done, makeup done, airbrushed, right?
Totally.
The whole bit.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's just kind of crazy. But anyways, I think we're gonna wrap up. I don't know if there's anything else that you guys want to just kind of mention before we wrap things up here. Anything that come to your mind about any of this?
No, just other than just like, I don't know. I look back and like, I wish that I could have told myself, you know, back then, like not to care so much about what other people thought of me.
Yeah.
Like, if I was rooted in my relationship with Jesus then, it's just, it's so foundational. I just wish that I guess that I could have, you know, had that back then and really rooted myself in my identity, because I just feel like our identity, daughters of Christ, is like, it's where everything starts. It's like the beginning of where we can formulate who we are. It's there, you know?
Yeah. And that's our true identity lies within Christ, and you know what God is really calling us to be as, you know, daughters of God, and that's the truth. There's no other truth more than that. So yeah, well, thanks so much for joining. I'm so glad we were able to have conversation and discuss. These are tough topics. I feel like we could probably, you know, look at them for so long and wrap them, like, really unwrap them more, but for the time we had today, thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for our listeners as well for joining us, and see you next time.